Even though many players who might have a big year in the NHL are circled in red before the season starts, sometimes they still come seemingly out of nowhere. As we get closer to the start of another NHL season, it's always exciting to try to guess which players will be the best versions of themselves this year. So, here is a list we made of the players who could have a big year in 2022-2023. First up, we have Tim Stützle, Ottawa Senators. On the surface, it could appear to be an odd choice to go with this. Tim Stützle is a German ice hockey center who plays for the National Hockey League's Ottawa Senators. He was thought to be one of the best prospects for the 2020 NHL entry draft, and the Ottawa Senators picked him 3rd overall. Given that the Senators have only recently agreed to terms with Tim Stützle that would pay him $66.8 million over the course of 8 years, it is obvious that the team has already upped their expectations for the young center. On the other hand, Stützle is likely on the cusp of a major breakthrough season. The young German completed the previous season, which was his sophomore year, with a flourish, scoring 31 points in his final 27 games played. Now, he's back, and this time, he's equipped with a brand new contract deal. In addition, the forward group that he plays with in Ottawa's top 6 is loaded with a lot of ability. The player selected 3rd overall in the draft of the year 2020 has the potential to become someone who will average 1 point per game for the Ottawa Senators. Moving on, Alexis Lafreniere, New York Rangers. Regarding the NHL draft of 2020, the player who was selected 1st overall in that event has not exactly impressed fans through the first 2 seasons of his professional career. Alexis Lafreniere is a left winger for the New York Rangers in the National Hockey League from Canada. Despite the lackluster start to Lafreniere's career, there's still a great deal of optimism that the winger will eventually find his footing. Early on in training camp, the left-handed shooter Lafreniere was lined up on the right side of the offensive zone, with the rookie Vincent Trocheck in the center position and the point production machine Artemi Panarin on the left. You can be sure that the Rangers will try to let him run the bases if he makes the most of the opportunities they provide him early in the season. Let's also talk about Sean Durzi, Los Angeles Kings. Sean Durzi is a Canadian who plays defense in the National Hockey League for the Los Angeles Kings. Durzi was born and raised in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. He played AAA ice hockey with the Mississauga Braves prior to actually joining the Mississauga Rebels of the Greater Toronto League. Last year, when he was 23 years old and making his debut in the National Hockey League, Durzi illustrated why the Kings wanted to acquire him from Toronto 3 years ago as part of the deal that sent Jake Muzzin to the East Coast. After beginning the season in the American Hockey League, Durzi has played 64 games in the National Hockey League and has scored at a rate that is equivalent to 35 points per game. This Kings team is on the rise, and he might be one of the pieces that drive that rise by virtue of his being a right-shot defenseman with good offensive instincts. Furthermore, Spencer Knight, Florida Panthers. This is a selection with a strong lineage. The fact that Knight, who was selected 13th overall in 2019, produced a middling save percentage of .908 during his first season in the NHL was actually a little bit disappointing. Having said that, Knight only turned 21 in April, and everyone looking at him sees a goalie with enormous potential. In addition, he just signed a brand new contract deal when the camp was in session. We are also now in year 4 of Sergei Bobrovsky's tenure in South Florida, and despite the fact that he was better this past season than his first 2 with the Cats, nothing is going to be given to the veteran at this point, particularly with new coach Paul Maurice at the helm following an embarrassing 4-game sweep by the Tampa Bay Lightning 5 months ago. The 21-year-old can gain from the Panthers acquiring Paul Maurice to replace Andrew Burnett, and despite the fact that Sergei Bobrovsky is going into this season as a starting goaltender for the Panthers, the long-term ceiling for Knight's production with the Panthers remains high. As a fantasy goalie, Knight should be considered one of the top 15 options, and as an all-around player, he should be ranked in the top 100. Moving along, Cole Caulfield, Montreal Canadiens. Cole Caulfield is an American ice hockey player who plays right wing for the National Hockey League's Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens took him with the 15th pick in the 2019 NHL entry draft. draft, you are undoubtedly aware of Caulfield's coaching splits from the previous season by this point. 1 goal scored in 30 games while playing for Dominique Ducharme, followed by 22 goals scored in 37 games when playing for Martin St. Louis, including a hat trick in the final game of the season. Will the short player, who plays for a man who won an MVP award and the scoring title despite being 5'8" in height, continue to light it up for his coach? Hint, you shouldn't bet any money against it. Not to mention Adam Boqvist, Columbus Blue Jackets. Do you remember the summer before last when the Chicago Blackhawks were literally trading away their futures in an attempt to become more competitive? Wow, that seems like a lifetime ago, especially in terms of hockey. The Columbus Blue Jackets acquired Boqvist from the Atlanta Thrashers in exchange for Seth Jones. The diminutive, right-shot defenseman may not be able to replicate the vintage Jones level of performance, but he was the 8th overall choice in 2018, and his job is to generate offense. Although Boqvist struggled with injuries toward the end of his first season in Ohio, he still managed to play in 52 games and score at a clip of 35 points per season. If the 22-year-old brings it all together this year, we could be looking at a leap forward from the player who has never skated in more games than that in a single NHL season. Up next, Matt Boldy, Minnesota Wild. Boldy made his debut in the National Hockey League on January 6 in his hometown of Boston, where he went on to score the game-winning goal. He concluded the season with 15 goals and 39 points in 47 games, including 10 points over the course of his first 10 games. If he had kept up that pace throughout his first 82 games, he would have led all rookies in goals scored with 26 and points with 68. Now, he had quick compatibility with Kevin Fiala, who has since been moved to the Kings. However, the Wilds believe that Boldy, who is 21 years old, is the one who actually drove that line and is almost ready to erupt. We just wanted to make sure that Boldy's name gets added to a list of players to keep an eye on, because he won't be part of any discussion around the Rookie of the Year award, due to him playing in more than 40 games in his first season, making him ineligible for the Calder Trophy. To put it succinctly, there is a chance that Boldy will develop into a well-known brand before the new year. In addition, we have no doubt that he will make amends for his actions. Lastly, Eric Comrie, Buffalo Sabres. Okay, here's our deep cut. If you know anything about Comrie, it's probably the fact that he's hopped on and off the waiver wire with the same regularity as a child with a Eurorail pass hops on and off trains. However, there is a reason why teams, particularly the Winnipeg Jets, continued trying to claim him as their own. This past summer, he signed a contract worth $3.6 million over the course of 2 years, and it was one of those agreements that, even if you are not partial to either team, you're delighted the player earned. Comrie, who's been a professional goaltender since he was selected in the second round of the 2013 draft, earned the majority of that money by recording a save percentage of .920 in 19 games played for Winnipeg in the previous season. And he most certainly would not be the first goalie to start playing the best hockey of his career at the age of 27, nor is it likely that he would be the last goaltender to do so. In addition to this, he is currently splitting time in the net with the 41-year-old veteran, Craig Anderson. As great as the veteran has been for Buffalo, it's obviously in the Sabres' best interest to provide as many opportunities as they can for Comrie, to demonstrate that he can contribute to the organization beyond the duration of his current contract. That's a wrap for this video. Which one of these players do you think will have the best season? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.